Morning, guys. I just realized my mic was muted. Morning, Jordan. Morning, Amen. Rob J. Morning. A little gap down in Uber this morning, which I'm long. I held into earnings. A little gap down in CrowdStrike as well. I cut a little bit more of my crowd below the 10-day. So I'm down to a quarter position. Oh, good evening from Australia. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, market's pulling back a little bit. The one that I thought was kind of weird because I am long from 120s is this Alibaba, right? It was a really nice piece of news, I thought, but really crappy reaction. And the reason I mention Alibaba is because I think, they're the best trending name. And oh, I love hearing that, man. Love hearing that. Yeah, I'm just here to help, man. If you need help, ask questions. But yeah, I thought the interesting one was Alibaba because, the news that U.S. is going to finally negotiate with China. And then, the market effectively at 5 p.m. my time when futures markets open up. I mean, names start ripping. Just go ahead and look at Microsoft and after hours, Google, Nvidia, Tesla, Apple. I mean, everything just starts ripping effectively on that news. And the same with the futures markets. I mean, effectively we go to, highs of the day, basically, and, almost. And then sure enough, now this morning, things are kind of selling off. So don't really know what to make of that. Obviously, recently there has been and a friend of mine, Alec, he's done a good job pointing these out. But these double top short sales, and for anybody familiar with Gil Morales, he is the one who teaches double top short sales. And effectively, you just got this left side peak. Price runs up, into the left side peak without really consolidating. Earnings breaks through that left side peak and then cracks, and that is called a double top short sale. I remember the first one that I ever really took successfully was IONQ a little while back, quite a while back at $20 right here. This was the double top short sale that I remember I traded well. Comes into this left side peak, cracks, and then I remember I was still short this thing, and I had to cut it, and then I re-shorted it at the same exact spot, but I made no money on the first trade. But yeah, double top short sale. Uber's kind of doing it this morning with its earnings report. But then again, on the flip side of that, if you're long like I am from lower, and you're trimmed, it's just still above the 10-day moving average. So there's a bit of that going on right now. Like I said, Palantir did it, Uber did it. I'm also in CrowdStrike, and that's doing something fairly similar. Just hits it and then starts to roll over. Yeah, SMMT kind of did it. Yes, it did. And by the way, Dawson, if it breaks the left side peak, that's totally fine. You're just looking to play it when it cracks back through. And on 425, it did. And boy, $10, $12 move in a day. I mean, you don't really need a whole much more than that. So, and then these mega caps, to be completely honest with you, outside of Microsoft, they're not that impressive. And I still think that the market would need them to kind of help stabilize and go higher. Something like an NVIDIA, which I'm already short, again, not really loving it, but if this thing re-loses the 50 and yesterday's lows, that could be pretty interesting for a short. I don't know if this thing's just going to keep building higher lows, right? So you've got your low, you've got a low, got a low. I mean, does this thing just build like another higher low, like 108, 107? I don't know, right? It's like market dependent. Bitcoin continues to act well, but really the mega caps aren't that impressive. Google's got this nice little flat base right here over the 50 as well, similar to NVIDIA. So, these all kind of look the same, right? You got your low same day, got a higher low same day, got another higher low. Like, does this build another one? I don't know. I really have no idea. But yeah, names are kind of pulling that double top short sale setup right now. Even though I still do like, some longs potentially. I mean, this one just needs a little bit more home cooking. Netflix was your leader. So really my hope is that this thing doesn't get below 1065, right? Just keep going. Nice reclaim on Celsius. That thing's got tons of overhead, but yeah, it just needs more sideways. Just needs more side. These gap downs and then they get bought back up. That's not a bad thing. Right? That's not a bad thing. Take Two did something similar, right? Gaps down and then gets bought back instantly on nice heavy volume. The difference is this is well above its 200 and in an uptrend. Celsius is just trying to finish out stage one base. Melly. I mean, Melly looks fine. Melly needs to go sideways. This whole action where you just go straight up in a channel is not, it's good if you're in it from lower, but it's not necessarily healthy action, right? You want action to go, like you really want action to go sideways, right? And for price to consolidate within that range. Right. And then, you get a couple tests of the upper boundary and then you go, right? This kind of setup allows you to define risk a whole lot easier than how the hell do you get into this, right? And obviously the bigger the sideways, the better. Obviously the world's greatest example of this would be NVIDIA, right? Just got a nice lower boundary, got an upper boundary, go sideways for several months, and then you're off to the races. Allows the moving averages to catch up and you're gone. Yeah, Hood looks good. Hood's on my radar. Hood needs to get through 50 and 51. But again, it's market dependent. Okay, so let's just talk about it for a second. Think about, for instance, how many days the market is up in a row, roughly, right? Whatever it is, 7 out of 8, 8 out of 9, 9 out of 10, whatever the hell it is, whatever that number exactly is. And then, ask yourself, would it be totally normal if the market pulled back? If the market pulled back, how much traction are you going to get on brand new positions? It's going to be hard to get traction on old positions, let alone new positions. Yeah, CRS looks fine. But guys, it's not often about a stock looking fine, right? One, CRS needs to get going over these highs, right? So 214, 215. Excuse me. But what you really want to think about is timing your entry with the market. You want to make sure that the market's not going down on the day you buy it, so it allows your stock to go. With the least amount of pressure on that day. No, I didn't buy Pony. I didn't buy Pony. One, there's just not enough price history here. There's not even 200 days. I do obviously like this volume that came in, but it's just too violent for me. I think I'm past my days of violence. HSAI. HSAI is another one that kind of keeps showing up on my radar. Really big, nice linear move, right? This thing got above its 200 on pretty big volume and then just kept going. Now you got a pretty big pullback and then kind of like Pony, right? They come back and then now this thing's flagging up. So HSAI is definitely interesting as well. Let's run an alert on that thing. See if this thing wants to keep going. If AMD can stay under 100 in the 50-day. Yeah, this is these setups. Like if you looked at Google, even AMD, obviously this one's been a laggard for a while, but if you look at Google and you look at NVIDIA, the semis aren't interesting at all. Like I don't know that I want to be short them because I'm in NVIDIA and it's not really working. Right, I'm effectively flat on it for the last 3 days. But on the flip side of that is there's no real power there. Like I would rather own these tobacco companies. For anybody who's been on stream long enough knows that I've been watching this thing down here. Right? In the 150s. Now we're in the 170s. Obviously had a pretty nasty shakeout, but then came right into the ascending 50, keying on the word ascending. Right? And then an ascending 200. And then you're just gone. Right? Philip Morris, this MO, Altria, and then this BTI. These tobacco names are on fire. No, Black Cat, I can't because this isn't 2020. I could talk to you about my strategy for 2020, but it wouldn't help anybody in this environment. And if anybody has yet to see my interviews, I talk about it a ton on those interviews, but this isn't that environment and it's not going to help anybody do what I did. It's very unlikely anybody makes 10,000% on their account day trading. It's just unlikely. What do I think about T as a swing? Looks good, just slow. But it looks great. Yesterday should have been the entry. Yeah, they would be. They would be too slow. But, here's the thing. There is, if you've got a bunch of faster moving names in your account, right, there's nothing wrong with balancing it out with 1 p.m. It's not like you're going to throw 30% of your account into it. So just to have something in your portfolio going up. Again, some people don't do it, but unless you could find 8 other names in the market that you can get yourself into, right? I'm still sitting on cash. So I would rather gotten myself PM at 155 and then be up $20 a share, even if it's just on 10,000 shares. What kind of screeners do I use? So I like 3-month relative strength scans. I like a scanner that's like 90% composite rating, 90% relative strength rating. I like a scan where I'm just looking at industry group first. So stocks in the highest industry group and then apply some technicals to them. So above the 50, again, normally stocks that are in leading industry groups, but just to filter them out. And then good earnings and sales. So accelerating earnings and sales, at least 20% quarter over quarter. Yeah, Toast looks good before earnings, but I'm not going to buy it before earnings. I would just rather wait for the earnings report. If it's a good reaction and I'm buying this thing at 38, totally fine. Any thoughts on an MSTR entry? Yeah, I see a lot of people talking about it on X here. And, it's a little extended from the 50. Right? It's up like 25% from the 50. And let me just actually throw this on my it moves like 6% per day. I mean, it's just, it could use a little bit of sideways before it tries to get through this left side peak. Like gold names, MSTR is very Bitcoin dependent. So if Bitcoin's not really going higher, then you don't really have to worry about MSTR because it's likely it won't be going higher either. Yeah, very, very Bitcoin dependent. Yeah, Uber earnings report. Yeah, it's down a little bit. This thing for me, before I trim some more, has to hold the 10. If it can't hold the 10, which is effectively $80, I will trim some more. Yeah, I've got 2/3 left. I was hopeful that the report would be a little bit better, but it just, I thought the report was okay. You're talking about Disney? Yeah, Uber was all right, but it has to hold the 10. No, I don't call this an EP. It's up, but it's right into the 200-day. If this thing were really strong, it would have gapped above the 200-day to like 108. Thoughts on ETR and Penn? Hell of a base. Slow. Very slow. ETR is utilities unregulated. Okay, so these utility names are a leading group in the market. That's for sure. And Penn is medical devices. Penumbra. Medical devices have been pretty strong too recently. I've been eyeing this TMDX again. I own TMDX down here, like right in here. I think it was like right in here actually. And then gapped up on earnings and off to the races we went. But then broke down and I think I got out of this thing at like 136. Did kind of a shit job selling it, but yeah, GEV feels like your leader in that space. GEV is the leader, but really it's, again, needs to retighten back up. I missed my entry on the reversal after earnings, 424. And then CEG, nice job selling off yesterday. Right, sold off yesterday and then came right back to life. Super strong up day, nice uptick in volume, right up to this little left side peak. If this thing just wants to go sideways for a few days under 280, I think that would look pretty good. This thing just kind of came straight off the bottom. This thing's up like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Call it like 10 days in a row. Hard for me to show up and buy it. Yeah, I hold positions through earnings as long as I have cushion. Right? Like I held Palantir. I had a sub $100 average and I was already sold 2/3. So of course I'm going to just hold it wasn't even 2/3. It's even less than that. But of course I'm going to hold the last bit of my shares. Like, how do I know it doesn't go to 140, 150, 180? Like I have no clue. Right? But the only way to capture that is to hold your shares from lower and allow the moving averages to work. So the only real thing that I do is I look for tightness in leading groups and leading stocks and things that are tight and have a good technical setup. And then I buy the breakout, right? Or the technical move, pocket pivot, a move through key moving average, some kind of a technical setup that I understand. I trim some into strength and then I just trail the rest. So pay yourself, treat it like a business, and then trail the rest. That's all you can do. Yeah, TMDX, though, has earnings soon. So just be careful with that. Right? They have earnings tomorrow. So while you could play it out of this flag, you don't want to get caught with your pants down tomorrow and no cushion and having not trimmed any. EOSE gapping up on ER, nice base. 504, 540. I mean, it's basically just right back into these this little left side peak here. I wouldn't say it's super strong. But yeah, I mean, gapping up but giving some of that back this morning. I don't know if it's got to do with the market or its earnings itself. This one hasn't really hit my radar because it's super thin. Yep. Yeah, I closed the last of my Palantir at, I'll tell you right now. Last of my Palantir was closed at 110.26. All things considered, it was a fairly decent trade. Root's cool. Root's been hanging in there. Aren't they an insurance company? Yeah, Root's getting nice and tight. I'm assuming they have earnings soon, though, don't they? Today. Yeah, I mean, thoughts on Root is that they have earnings today. My thoughts don't really matter, to be honest with you. Let the earnings play out. What's my last 7-figure trade? Maybe MSTR short. Yeah, Spotify ideally goes sideways a little longer in the ideal world. Sideways for like another week, and then the market starts to push. Right, guys, so much of your trading is market dependent. Right? If you're trading like tech names, you want the NASDAQ to be going higher. Otherwise, you're just fighting the trend of the bigger picture of the market. That would be amazing. Do I continue to trim after the first few days if it goes higher? It depends. It's often ideal with if it gets extended from the 50-day. I don't just trim it because it's going higher. If it's going higher, but then taking a pause and going sideways, and then going higher and taking a pause and going sideways. The only time, let's just say I've trimmed 50% of a position, and then it starts to get extended from the 50, then I trim some more. And I trim it based on the stock's average daily range and how far in terms of percent it is away from the 50-day. So that's the only real way that I'm trimming more. OFCR gap up. Let's see. No, it's gapping up. It's still below the 200-day. Right? If this thing is truly going to go higher, right? Look at how nice this was when this was in here, right? When it was above the 200 and then pulls back nice and clean. And then goes, and it's above the 200, right? If this thing is truly meant to go, I mean, even in here, when this thing got back through the 50. But if this thing's really going to go, I mean, it's got to set up above the 200. Right now, we're just coming off the bottom. Amazon to invest $4 billion to launch infrastructure region in Chile. No, I haven't talked to Gladiator. We talked about Archer last week. You know, it's in the aerospace and defense sector, and that is actually a group that's acting really well, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know that I love it per se. Just let it go sideways a little bit longer. Let it create you like a buyable spot that's like much more definable, like a level where you're like, okay, above that. Like, I don't like downtrending lines because they're way too subjective. Right? Like, some people draw them through bodies, some people draw them through, the to upper wicks. Some people will draw you a trend line that looks like that. Some people will draw you a trend line that looks like that. Like, they're just way too subjective. So what I prefer to do is use the moving averages, as your ascending support, and then draw a horizontal line where it goes through price, and you're like, okay, yeah, above the line is good, below the line is bad, kind of deal. Like, very, very simplistic. It's either breaking out above or it's not. And again, it's not very subjective as a downtrend line. But Archer just needs a little bit more cooking. Right? I like the hold of the 200. I like that it's back above the 50. I like that it's just kind of hanging in there, but other than that, I don't really see an entry, nor do I think this is a totally special stock. Yeah, I trade DTSSs. I do. But it's not often that I'm long a bunch of names that are doing DTSSs. And one of the things that I don't like to do is I don't want to just up and sell, the strongest names in the market that even got up to their left side peak when the market has had a correction like this, because the stocks that are making new all-time highs are actually more often than not your leadership. With that said, obviously, Palantir was a pretty nasty DTSS. Uber is doing one kind of in after hour or in a pre-market this morning. So, there is quite a bit of that going around. But on the flip side of that, an Uber is still holding its ascending 10-day. So while on the short term, it's rejecting its left side peak because it's run straight up off the bottom, people forget Palantir was like literally just 60 something bucks. So it gets back to 125. There are profit takers there, right? So there's nothing wrong with it taking a breather. Now, again, doing it on earnings kind of sucks because you get big volume to come in, sell it off. And we don't know if the market weakens from here, and then that's it for Palantir. Like, it's all known in hindsight. But yeah, I do like trading DTSSs. But normally I go and look for them in stocks that I don't already own. But I owned a little bit of Palantir. And so, like, just selling Palantir and then, just like getting rid of my whole Palantir and then flipping short when I'm in from much lower, that's mental gymnastics, man. It's difficult. I wish I could just tell you like, oh yeah, that's easy. I bought it down here. I sold it, like trimmed into strength, sold it perfectly, shorted it perfectly, flipped short, and then now I'm covering down here. Like, bullshit is what I got to tell people who will just say that nonsense, right? It's like easier said than done. Easier said than done. And not to mention, I owned it from much lower and I was up, 20 something percent on it, so just hold it for me. Like, if I want to short, why do I have to short a bunch of DTSSs when I can go shorting stocks that are below their 200 and could hardly bounce at all with the market while the market's been going higher? So, that's just kind of my mentality. I would rather hold what looks like could be potential leadership coming out of a bear market, right? So it's like, there's two sides to every coin, and that's what makes a market. The last thing I would want to do is like, this thing has a little wiggle around 125, comes down to like, call it 118, and then just holds. And then, let's just say yesterday for Palantir, it starts to rip right back up. You'd feel like a total moron for playing it as a DTSS for a couple bucks. So it's just kind of my thinking, right? If you're onto a stock much lower, respect your moving average and let it work. ROK. Let's see. Well, it's gapping up 30 bucks, but it's not 30 bucks above its 200. And this thing is just think about this. This thing moves 3% per day. Actually, over the last 5 days, 2.5%. Would you want to really end? Where's the linear? If you own this on the daily, you would probably commit suicide. If you were stuck in this, you'd probably quit trading. So just leave it alone. Rockwell Auto Nation. They do auto parts. It sounds like they do auto parts. Specialty industrial machinery. Yeah, Doug. The last thing I want to do is read about in the newspaper that somebody killed themselves because they owned Rockwell Auto Nation in a consolidation. I don't want to hear about any suicide stories. It's just no good. Like this thing when it's above the 200 squirts higher at like the slowest pace ever, right? At $300 stock and squirts higher like 8%, and then it just it's just no good. No, I don't see any good names in Bitcoin besides Bitcoin. I mean, Coin would be the next best. Hood is technically been moving with Bitcoin, but that's it. Once I enter, do I just only use one stop or do I have multiple stops? Usually I just use low of day or prior low of day, depending on how far away that stop is. But yeah, just one stop. SSRM, really nice breakout. Let's take a peek. But this didn't come up on my scans. That's probably why. Only trades 25 million bucks. Yeah, I mean, still technically in a range, but yeah. But nice push out on earnings. Yeah, WMB is a nice base. LB is a nice base. WMB is indeed a nice base. I mean, this is just super nice. It just has to get going, over 60 and then 61 and a half, 61. LB is another one that I think has a pretty nice base. Same thing. Really nice base. This EQT is shaping back up. Nice base. CRK was another one. Nice base. Yeah, there are some of these that are acting, some are acting better than others, for sure. Yeah, good eyeball, Steve-O. Yeah, WMB, LB, EQT, CRK. Again, crap group right now, but, it's some of these nat gas names, you remember that they're going to be powering some of the data centers. They're going to be powering some of the data centers. So I think that's kind of the theme that they're moving on. Yeah, LOAR. Yeah, LOAR, kind of like a cup and handle. I mean, it needs some more sideways, in my opinion. It's a little extended from the 50. Yeah, Oddity had a super base and nice gap out on earnings. Right, over 50. It was beautiful. Yeah, LOAR was interesting with DRS, KTOS, MRCY. Those groups are acting well, or that group is acting well. Yeah, I mean, Uber, Crowd, Palantir, they would need the market to shape up, right? I mean, and here's the thing, the market's been up quite a few days in a row. So what does the market need? The market needs to pull back, build a higher low, digest, and eventually get back over its own 200-day, period, right? The market doesn't trend higher below its 200-day. It's got to get back up above. But in that scenario, we might have a few names that are buyable already, right? Netflix, you've got Palantir, you've got Uber, you've got potentially Hood, you've got MSTR, you've got a few of these aerospace and defense names, you got some insurance names, maybe you got some gold names, yes, cybersecurity. Cybersecurity's been acting pretty damn good. CrowdStrike, Zscaler, Okta, FTNT, Fortinet, so PanW. Yeah, there's a lot of potential out there. But the problem is, in my opinion, is the market has to get above the 200. Yeah, Doug. Like I said, I just want you to, I just want your money to go up, right? Not sideways. You get gray hair as fast as I'm getting gray hair. But yeah, hopefully, Gabo, these things get rolling. But again, market dependent, guys. It's everything. Your entries should be timed up when the market's going higher. If you're thinking you're going to buy a breakout or a stock going higher when the market's going down, you just track relative strength. Just watch names, and if they're holding up when the market's going down, that's amazing. If they hold up when the market's going down, that is the best news ever. Right? They're kind of just like tipping their hand as to what they would do when the market's actually going up. And then when the market's actually going up, you buy it over some clean pivot that you understand, a higher low setup, a little flat base breakout. I talk about this all the time. And then all of a sudden, it allows that stock to really push away from your average. And then you're in the driver's seat. Ooh. What's up on earnings? TEM was up. I saw that thing give away that whole pop last night. Oh, it came back some. I was about to say, I saw this thing go from like 52 to 57 and then all the way back to 47. NBIS 10% up 10%, initiated outperform at Northland. TEM up 1.5, AMD up 1.5, CRISPR up 2.5. Oh man, that looks terrible. ANET down 6, Marvell down 7.5. Delays investor meeting. Ooh, that's never good, is it? Oh, buddy. Yeah, Marvell looks terrible. I'm short MU though. Wish I were short some damn Marvell. Look, here was a beautiful double top. We talk about these double top short sales, right? Your left side peak, and then it just rejects, gaps down on something pretty nasty. Don't know what it was, and then you just get this little wedge and then a failure again. completely rolls over. Man, this thing gave back like a year's worth of price action. More. Actually, this is a great question, but I prefer to start looking for shorts when the market's really, really strong, because the names that just stop going higher, or the names that are red when the market is green, are normally the names that will die the fastest when the market starts to go down. So if the market is really, really strong, I start to track relative weakness. And then when the market is really, really weak, I start to track relative strength. Hence the reason I knew to buy Netflix, Uber, CrowdStrike, Palantir, etc. Right? Even talking about TTWL. Right? When the market's in a pullback, you want to be looking at names that have been holding up best. And those are the names that once the market starts to go higher are your leaders. And then on the flip side of that, when the market is really strong, you want to start to track the weakest names in the market. And then as soon as the market starts to give you distribution, like a down day, you'll have a setup or two that are ready for you to hit short, and then you hit them on the short side. And if you get some traction, you go for another. And if you get some traction, you go for another, and get some traction, you go for another, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you can just build into the short side as the market's giving you traction on those. Because if you're getting traction on the short side on days where the market gives you distribution, one, you're looking at the right names to short, and two, your own portfolio is not giving you the feedback that that's the side that's paying. Yeah, HIMS is up. HIMS is up. They got a price target increase, and they're acting pretty dang well. Super, super volume came into this thing yesterday. But yeah, I mean, I don't need the things to be real bearish for me to get negative, right? Like when the market got down 20%, I was telling everybody in the Discord, like, I'm now not just getting bearish. Like, at down 20% for the market, your job should have already been done, and you should already be in a few names, right? On the short side, it's like, if at 20% is when you finally start to get bearish, you've missed so many easy setups. Right? You've missed MU, you've missed SMCI, you've missed NOW, you've missed the AVGO bear flag. Like, there are so many nice, clean short setups, and you missed them. And if at 20%, when the market goes into a a bear market, and you're just using that arbitrary 20% down to help make your decision, that's terrible. You are now getting chopped up being short and negative while the market's now starting to bounce and go higher. And then you've missed the opportunity to get long, the names that were showing most relative strength. So yeah, that doesn't work for me. I want to be paying attention to the weakest names when the market's going up, and I want to be paying attention to the strongest names when the market's going down. That's how you know who your relative strength leaders are, and that's how you know who your laggards are. So, and shorting is just a matter of a technical setup, and then, aligning it within a weak market, or a market that's giving you distribution for the day. And then if you get follow through, getting another one. And if you get follow through, getting another one, and some follow through and getting another one. And then, like I said, the own feedback on your portfolio is telling you what to focus on. UPWK, got to redeem yourself. What happened here? Upwork, not bad. Really nice pickup in volume. Really nice push out yesterday. This isn't too far from a 52-week high. I mean, this isn't terrible. Held on to the 200. I like that, Doug. There you go. We're talking. I like these kind of setups where it gives you a after hours high of earnings, and then you just go on the 60-minute, and you're just looking to buy it over the high, right? Like, you literally be looking 1505. And if you look yesterday, that was probably a pretty good 5-minute opening range break right in that area, wasn't it? Sure was. Right? Like, even if you took it a little bit higher, 5-minute opening range break, you'd be looking like 530 with a stop. I mean, that would have widened up your stop a little bit, but anywhere in that area, not bad. Can Uber pull a Hims? I mean, anything is possible. Anything is possible. I don't know that it will. Hims is going to have to share some of that, some of that Cialis that they sell. Yes, my love. Thank you. Other than Bailey waking us up at 2 o'clock in the morning. My dog decides at 2 a.m. it's gotta, go take a shit. Gets off the bed, starts growling at the bedroom door. And then I gotta roll over at 2 o'clock in the morning to let him out. Yeah, Uber, nice push. Yeah, I can't talk about Disney. I won't be trading Disney. Guys, it is 8:22. I didn't even realize how fast time went. Thank you guys for the million good questions. I will see you guys tomorrow, 23 hours from now. Thank you guys for being here as always. Appreciate you guys for showing up. And we will see you guys. Doug, have a great day. We will see you guys in the room for some of you guys, and we will see you guys tomorrow here on stream. Cheers.